always check this recording so this transcription starts. So okay, look, so this morning we're looking at the final formative review of your website. We're going to have your site on this screen here, so we'll be looking at this together, giving you some last minute pointers, and then we'll also be linking over to the grading criteria on the other screen here. So I'll be talking about where we think it sits and like what you can do to improve on it. Okay.
Yeah.
So before we start recording, you were saying that you're pretty positive about how it's gone, and you seem like you've been like very much engaged with it the whole time. You've been really on it in terms of session time. So in terms of like one of the key criteria over here is that kind of applied
consistency.
Yeah, consistent process, definitely, and that idea that you've extended inquiry. So you've you know the stuff that we covered in the group project before about basic like door animations and things, you're now into key cards and you're into like more advanced Unreal stuff, and you've really got kind of explored blueprinting
beyond just using trigger boxes, because they don't work properly for complex stuff.
You're like way into your blueprints and different blueprint classes and stuff, which is your thing, isn't it? You're quite a problem solver. So do you think your project still aligns to what you set out in your proposal, like in terms of what you set out as a
I'd say so, but in a more realistic front. I mean, I've worked towards my goals, and I've just achieved as many of them as I can in the allotted time.
Well,
I never managed to make it a first-person shooter because I didn't have time to like flesh that out or make enemy molds and stuff like that. So I'm not a great sculptor, so probably better I didn't.
Yeah, but it's got that feel to it. So still a horror themed sci-fi setting.
Yeah, it's just that there's nothing waiting for you in that level. It's just like getting used to things.
So it's more of an exploratory thing.
Yeah, it's more of an immersion thing rather than just massive action shoot 'em up things.
Well, that's fine. That's all good.
Same thing a lot. Shouldn't be doing.
No, that's good. In terms of your research, is there any more that you like? Obviously, we've looked at this last time. Have you built on what was suggested in the last round of feedback? Was there any things you had to action?
I believe I have. I just can't remember off the top of my head. It's probably.
And also, while we're here, we'll just check the process has been, followed.
I might have.
No, go on.
I think I might have forgotten the second one. Yeah, I forgot the second one.
All right. So yeah, if you summarise that, and then you can at least cross-check to see that you've got everything done that was suggested. I think like it was a very positive previous feedback in that your research was looking detailed. There was a couple of suggestions, I believe, but you look like you've been actioning and detailing those up. And obviously your research has become far more technical since that last one, because you've been looking at how to actually go through process. And I know we're talking.
I try to keep those references images at the bottom because, well, I was always adding to them.
Well, that's fine. That's good. And they've helped you in terms of modelling, have they?
I know the WASD trip is a bit lackluster, but I couldn't find anything. I honestly couldn't think of anything I could apply to me.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. At least, I mean, WSC trip was just and
I didn't realize. This is my bad. This is just me being a bit of a tool, but I didn't realize that system shot. I didn't know where system shot I looked everywhere, but it wasn't until we were back on the bus going back that I realized it was in the 18+ bit that I didn't go into. So
you were old enough to go in.
But I just.
Well, that's fine. At least you
realized it was in there. I thought it like had dead on and stuff like that. I wasn't interested.
System shock was a really good one. I think like what you could do is just show some reference to that, even though you didn't see it there. Like obviously now there's lots of footage of it out. You can see that, you can link it back to that.
I mean, the FPS assets there as well, like you've seen there.
Yeah,
I didn't end up couldn't use them but I just it's pity to waste them, so I just scattered them about the place.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's the thing with projects like this. They change direction, and it's not. Don't see it as a failing that you haven't built, an FPS mechanic. You've still got a really nice sci-fi, exploratory game, as you say, that creates the mood, and you've got lots of really cool mechanics in there, which is good. So we've got plenty of detail, and what I also think is good is that you've got different processes, so it's just not just all about Unreal. We've got processes of substance here. What I would say with these is there's a lot of blogs of just imagery here, and videos, admittedly, but some commentary occasionally just to sort of say what was going on and what your decisions were would be quite useful here. Okay. So if you get the time to go back and add a bit more information in those sections, that would be very helpful.
Forgot about the sticker I made. I've got to put that in.
Where's that? Oh, just one you haven't used.
Yeah, it was supposed to go on the room walls. Not that one. That's somewhere up. But
Oh, okay. Yeah, a bit more reflection on what the decision saved behind this door. Why is this one gold? Like, is that the they're
I think
all
that
gold?
might just be a lighting problem.
Oh, okay. So just not.
It's the same texture I used on the other one. It's probably
say.
just it's lighting problem probably.
Okay. Because when I've seen it in game, it doesn't look gold. But I just wondered if there was an alternate version. Like, that's the.
I had really real problem with a substance, but it just that bit was just me being funny. But
what's this?
This was my first version of keycard things. I was going to do I felt really good about this until I realised it didn't work.
Oh, okay.
Because
that was your adaptation of Python.
Yeah. Because the first programming language I ever learned was Python and thingy. So I decided to use instead of using like an inventory check, I was just gonna do like a variable that changes depending on what you pick up.
Yeah.
And the door checks that variable, but obviously it doesn't work like that in Unreal because Unreal just isn't simple.
No.
And I didn't realise until afterwards that you can only have 2 of those on the website at a time. So
yeah, it's really annoying, isn't it? They're quite a useful tool, but they really like.
I don't know about the variable thing. It didn't work like that. I just had to find something off the internet. I was really disappointed because I thought I was being really intelligent, but I was just being what's the word? Ambitious as usual.
No, I think that's good. Like it's important to acknowledge. Have you what's in terms of your process? Have you come to a realization about like what's feasible in the time frame a bit more?
What's feasible in the time frame and my capability outside of college, because you're not going to believe this, but I tried doing that bit of music I did at home on my laptop, but it could barely run it.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't until just then that I realized that my laptop was nearly 10 years old because it came with Windows 8.
Oh, right, yeah. So that's a big restriction, and I think
a very big restriction.
Yeah, I think obviously if you were in a luxurious position of having
a working computer,
and you could do Unreal at home, I imagine you would do double the volume, which is
probably.
Already you've got a lot of work evident here.
But that's why I just use all the time allotted to me, because I know that if I have to do it at home, it's not getting done.
So is your process quite very much like practical while you're here, and then you blog about it at home, or do you not? Really?
Sort of both. I can type very quickly because I'm used to it. I mean, I type a lot, but if most of what I do is just what's the word? Practical.
Yeah.
And that's the last entry, which is I talked about the weird glitches that I think.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just one big video. I don't fancy making like a load of different videos for it.
No, that's fine. So, what's to do now? What's on your agenda?
Basically, now it's just clean up stuff. I can't figure out why the keycards are acting weirdly, so I'm just going to leave. I have got no clue what to do in that. There's nothing in the code that says to if boot up, duplicate yourself, or if booted up as a standalone, delete the keycard. There's nothing in the code that says that, so I'm just I don't know how to fix it, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it. But for now, it's just clean up, making sure things look good, lighting and stuff. Also, might put in a post like a credit scene, like I mentioned earlier, just a bit
of UI stuff.
Just making the UI look pretty. That's all.
You've got a front end menu like to a play button and things, or is that?
That's there.
Okay.
If you scroll up a bit further, it's somewhere there. Actually, there's another button there that says about. There's like with the about button, tells you it's a college project, tells you to like go around exploring things.
Yeah, no, really good.
Because I wanted to add an extra button, it just looked a bit plain.
Yeah. No, lovely. I think menus are always really nice. What about control scheme? Is it your standard control?
They're just WASD at the moment. I couldn't figure out how to use the interact button because no matter what I tried, I followed the code to a T, but the E button the interact button just will not work.
Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so
that's another thing that's another limitation, because my interactions do not work even though the code is exactly the same.
Okay. Oh, that is annoying.
So I just said, just walk up to it.
So you're okay. So it's
I've made compromises where I've had to.
Yeah.
Only if I've had to though.
Yeah. Okay, well that's good to know. I think I wonder what that is with the. But...
Haven't got a clue. Just doesn't really matter. It's just one thing. It's one thing.
Yeah.
Everything else you just walk up to.
What was it? Yeah, there was a solve we had because I had a year 2 student. Let me just check because I sent it to Evan. He was having the same problem whether he would work for one event but not everything. And he unchecked this consume input box on the E input action.
If it was just a checkbox this entire time.
Yeah. So when you uncheck that one, because I don't know why, but it meant that you could use the E key for multiple different outcomes, and that was the solve for that basically. So see if that does solve your issue with that particularly. But I just want to focus on the positives. I think there's a lot of process here. It looks very thorough. We've got loads of stuff. I would say one thing is that there's some really nice technical process. Make sure that it links back to the research though. So when you're like the idea that you're trying to get across a kind of sci-fi horror theme product, isn't it? Really, is it horror? Would you say?
Yeah.
So just try, if possible, try and make sure that you link.
Like slightish right now, because there's only so much I can really do to make it look.
Yeah. But what you have done
without like going into like the too abnormal.
No, that's fine. But I think you've gone into it's subtle, but that's just making sure that you acknowledge that's there. So like the red and the black color scheme, for example, how you acknowledge that that's in there, like the choice of like the audio that you've done, etc. So just link it back to products that you probably referenced in your research. So like imagine, is Dead Space in there as a reference?
Yeah, Dead Space is like one of them, like if one. Not the main one.
Yeah. So that one, and then
that
maybe
shouldn't be as low as it is.
Maybe that's fine. Maybe System
Shock.
That
shouldn't be as big as a gap as it is, but
that's all right.
Some reason it is. I don't know why.
But I think it looks very good, Luke, from a process point of view, from a detailing point of view, as always, really nice and very thorough, as we can come to expect from you. So a couple of things, obviously, suggest to add the reflection on the previous round, add today's one, key things with the research being linked into the practical skills, and there's that whole section where there's a lot going on where there's not much you don't need to reflect on everything, but there's a lot here, for example, in this section where there's not much being talked about the decisions, say, behind the aesthetic. So for example, with this, you can say, look, my reference images, I wanted to create something that looked very 80s, or I wanted to have a retro nostalgia thing, a bit like System Shock. And then you could link it back to, say, the System Shock stuff. System Shock's art style is very different to yours, but it does have a sort of nostalgic kind of 80s vibe.
My art style was just whatever. My art style was basically Substance Painter, whatever was in there.
Yeah, but it still looks very lovely. Like there's some really nice choices that you've made here, and like lots of detailing.
I think those keys are made out of plastic.
Yeah. No, they're very cool, and the choice of lettering on them and everything. It has a very
pain in the neck.
Yeah, I bet. But the effort you've gone to do that is phenomenal. So make sure you just capture a little bit to say why how you went through that and why you made the choices that you did, because it does feel like something that's very much late 80s, early 90s, and it's got a very sort of specific aesthetic that you just need to make sure you just blog about a little bit. Okay. I'm not saying blog loads about that. And then final thing is, I think it's really important with yourself that you get some play testing. So try and get people to jump on it whose opinion you value, 3, 4, 5 people to get that feedback.
Yeah,
okay?
I was planning on doing that.
Great, fantastic. And then last thing is, as we said, final video edit, capture out that last bit. Once you've done your credits sequence and all the rest, get that captured, put that on there, and then job's done. I think like in terms of what I'm seeing, I would definitely say that we can indicate that we're in the merit category in terms of what's on there at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I was aiming for. Merit.
But we can move it into certainly realistic. I think like realistic. Yeah, I think the practical skills. I would say probably distinctive level, because we're seeing in-depth understanding of aesthetic awareness, the imaginative process. You've been very much driven and applied like lots of extending inquiry to push everything beyond. So that's where I'd like to be awarding that. And it might be, and this is where you can just do a little bit of backfilling, blogging a little bit more to push it to try and get the rest to distinctive level, basically, with a thorough final evaluation. I think the thing with yourself is that you're quite damning of your either your work or the process.
I have very high standards. Yeah. If it doesn't look professionally made, I just throw it in the bin.
Which in one case is great, because that means that's why you end up producing very high quality work. But equally, Don't be so damning that you're like that. You know,
I'm not prepared to settle for like mediocrity. I don't settle for mediocrity.
No,
It's either perfect or I just don't use it.
Well, I think that's good in one sense, but don't be too damning in your final evaluation. Is what I'm saying, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure you try and see the positives because there's so many positives in what you've done, and it looks phenomenal. So, yeah, get that final video edit out. Think about just presenting that up and making sure that it looks nice on the site, and that goes on to the presentation, final product and evaluation page. Okay, so after today, reflect on this previous round, add this one, add this next one, and then reflect on that. Add your final video edit, and then your summary evaluation. Okay, so that, and then a couple of little infills on your practical skills page, and obviously your survey.
Yeah.
All right. So not like tons and tons to do, but enough to keep you going, basically. Okay. And you feeling okay? You're not stressed or anything? Or?
No.
No. Excellent. I think well done.
Not
I think
slightest.
I think no. Well, that's because you put the effort in all the way through. So that that's commendable, definitely. Right. So let's cease recording at this point.